So as people who watch my channel consistently must know, over the past few weeks, I've started doing something kind of different that I don't normally do, which is short form content. Doing 2 videos a week that are 10 minutes long rather than 1 video a week that is 20. But for some reason, YouTube just really doesn't like that, no matter how much engagement I get on the video and how well it's doing, and just doesn't recommend those videos to anybody. So we're going back to long form content. Not only are we going back to long form content, but we're going back to one of the biggest videos I have ever made, which is the Monsters of the Fnaf Community 2, baby. Now, if you don't know, my first video on this topic has 127,000 views, being noticed by one of the people who were featured in the video. That video, along with Why Springtrap is Perfect, was the reason I was able to get my PC, my gaming, like half of my gaming setup at this point. But at the end of the day, all I can really say is thank you for the overwhelming support. You guys already know what this video is going to be, so without further ado, thank you for clicking on this video, and let's begin.
Do you know how much people commit suicide because of you?
Good. If you are even slightly well versed within the FNAF community, then you are aware of the thousands of FNAF fan games that are released every year. I truly believe that stuff like Five Nights at Candy's or The Joy of Creation were in somewhat directly responsible for keeping FNAF afloat and relevant for all these years. And apparently Scott Coppin thought this too, which is why he made the Five Nights at Freddy's fanverse, a way for indie game developers that were making FNAF fan games to actually make a profit off of the fan games. One of the indie game developers that were chosen for this giant Fazverse project was Jonochrome, the creator of the infamous Five Nights at Flumpty's. The first Five Nights at Flumpty's was released in January of 2015, and it was released at a time where most FNAF fan games, the few that were around, were obviously not very good. Now, if this game was released today, I have no doubt in my mind that it wouldn't have gotten anywhere near the popularity today as it did back then. But at the time, having a semi-decent FNAF fan game come out so we had FNAF material while waiting for actual FNAF games to release, people jumped on it like crazy. And this game became a cult classic when it came to FNAF fan games over the years, even still to this day. Scott Coffin, knowing about this fan game, obviously reached out to Jonochrome and asked him if he wanted to be within the Fanverse project. And despite Jonochrome's distaste for the Five Nights at Flumpty series that he created,
I've made no secret of the conflicting feelings I've had about this goofy little series, but I know I'm not alone when I say it's a rough feeling when your most successful creation, or at least one of them, is something you didn't put your heart into. I made the first game in about 3 weeks to practice software I'd never used before. Its cast is entirely made up of characters most people seem to have more passion about than I do.
He agreed to be involved within the FNAF fanverse, and his game was actually the first fanverse game to be released within the project, and it blew up. Everybody was loving the game, we were having a good time, the fanverse looked like it was on a really good track, and then this happened. The truth about Jonochrome and my witnessed account. Hello, my name is unimportant in this matter, and I'd rather stay anonymous. I love this community, and I absolutely have been a part of the FNAF fandom ever since 2014. The point of this is to try to make it safer for everyone and minors. Don't go attacking Scott over this. He absolutely had no way of knowing who Jonochrome really was. I also strongly insist that minors stay within their own age groups when meeting friends in the same fandom online, whether artists or not. With that said, this is my testimony coming clean about Jonochrome. After seeing the release of One Night at Flumpty's 3 and how Jonochrome had insisted on staying within the community and fanverse, I cannot stand by and allow him to continue being within this fandom. And I really should have come forward much earlier when I initially found out. I was involved with plenty of his group DMs from 2016 to 2018. A girl by the name of Emily was 13-14 at the time, and he came all out about his relationship with her, within group DMs we've had. Jonochrome was already in his 20s. Charges cannot be pressed as Emily would need to do it herself, as she would now be 19. I have evidence to provide this, with links to all of it, and witness statements and messages from Jonochrome himself. This man should not be praised at all, and I hope this helps people see him for what he really is, and why he should be removed altogether from any community he has high stance in.
Alright, that's gonna do it for me tonight.
I think at this point, it's kind of a low-hanging fruit to point out that the FNAF fandom, it kind of has a problem, because I mean at this point, every time like a new creator comes out as a literal pedophile, the fandom just at this point is they're like it's like the meme of the dad who's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And I feel like we wouldn't have look I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I feel like we wouldn't have this problem as much if the new FNAF games weren't targeted towards kids. It would later grow the community to have more kids in it. You see where I'm going with this. We would later find out from valid sources that Jonochrome had admitted to having a romantic relationship with this 13-year-old girl, but then had also specified that he did not have any interest in having a sexual relationship with her, which, you know, anybody can say anything, take it with a grain of salt, but even if that is true and he was just trying to have a romantic relationship with her, not only is that just plain old weird, but that is also what we call grooming. There are leaked group chats of him saying that he wants to marry this girl. Not only that, but group chats saying that he's been dating her for almost 3 years. That timeline coupled with the report that the anonymous source made saying that they were 13 to 14 years old by the time that they had found out about Jonochrome's doings. Who the hell knows how young she really was when Jonochrome started quote-unquote dating her. Now, if you have an IQ that's higher than 50, it doesn't really take much to point out the fact that Jonochrome knew what he was doing was wrong, not only from leaked DMs that would later come out where he is, you know, tweaking over net neutrality laws, but in future posts where he is deeply apologizing and admits that he knew what he was doing was wrong. Now, unfortunately, I cannot find the original response that Jonochrome had when it came to this situation coming out, but I can find people saying what he said when it came to the response, so this is what he said. I just won't be able to put any like screenshots on screen or anything. I can't deny that these screenshots are real. When Emily and I met, dating wasn't even a consideration for obvious reasons. We were friends who got along really well. Emily and I shared the same religious beliefs. Please don't bring God into this, brother. We had a similar sense of humor, and there's a lot of overlap in our interests and hobbies. We can comfortably talk about a lot of things. We both felt like maybe we were meant to be together. He's talking about a 13-year-old girl, by the way. I just want to make that clear. We both felt like maybe we were meant to be together, and that we were just born at the wrong times, and we started making it clear right away that there would be nothing sexual about our conversations, and that we wouldn't be in person until she was at least 18. For a long time, I didn't see the harm in it. This year, 2021, would have been the same year that we met in person with her age at 19, but this was also when I learned that she was starting to have doubts about our relationships. She knew I didn't mean any harm, while also saying I'd effectively prevented her from exploring any other romantic options by approaching her when I did. I would like to say I knew better, but until that moment, I didn't really realize that the reality was I didn't give her enough time to grow, and I shouldn't have even entertained the idea. It's a mistake I've made the one time, and I'll never make it again for as long as I live. For anyone who wishes to hear the victim side of the story, Emily and I are on good terms, and she's planning to make her own response to this as soon as she can. Regardless, I was wrong for pursuing a relationship with her, and I can't change the past, but I hope that my story can at least serve as an example for others. This could have ended a lot worse. Okay, I'm not reading the post anymore. Jonochrome, just so you know, dude, I hope you just realize this. You're retarded. You are in your mid to early 20s. You're saying that you were born at the wrong time for this girl, like you're a freaking divorced dad at a guitar center. And then you say that you had no idea or you didn't realize that you didn't give her enough time to grow. Dude, bro, if you wait for her to turn 18, that's still weird. That's still grooming. It's not about that you gave her time to grow. You should have never been speaking to her to begin with. I don't understand how people could hear this and say, oh, you know, he's not all that bad. He's not all this. You know, Emily seems to be on good terms with him. Yeah, probably because she was manipulated, dude. If you are so criminally stupid that you could be in your mid-20s and you think the problem is that you didn't give her enough time to grow, you are too retarded to be on the street, let alone be a part of a fandom that is like 50% children. It pisses me off so bad when I hear that the victim of this groomer is on good terms with the groomer, so he must have not been that bad. Bitch, what are you talking about? Do you know how manipulation works? He was grooming her. Regardless, this takes us to Emily's response, and similar to Jonochrome's response, I couldn't find a direct source. I only find like transcripts that other people have posted after I think she deleted hers, so this is what she said from what I could find. Jonochrome was 100% responsible for his actions. He has apologized to me several times, and I truly still believe that he is a good person. We even talk on good terms even though we're separate, but he has recognized that he fucked up. So please, as the victim, leave the man alone. Let me clarify, he has never tried to solicit anything from me. He has never asked me to do anything I didn't want to. It was not good to consider us having a romantic relationship that I was very explicitly not old enough to be in, but mind you, we've always been friends. However, I will absolutely make note and admit his faults. Because he has mentioned sex while I was a minor, he had thought about it, but nothing ever came of it. He didn't do what most people who get caught up in cancel culture do. He has done nothing illegal, but yes, he was close as an adult. I'm not going to press charges against Jonochrome, and I truly hope he's living his best life. He's been seeking therapy, and I do hope he'll make it out alive. I don't know, man, it's good that he's seeking help, but dude, he should not be anywhere near this fandom ever again. But that brings us to our next person on the list.
Have you been married before?
You know the answer to that. Fuck you.
So I know that I've already lightly talked about Blackout within my worst Fnaf fan games video, but you know, again, I only touched on him briefly because it was more about his fan game rather than him as a person. So I thought that this would be a good idea to actually talk about what he did, because although I gave small details about what he did in my video, you could tell pretty clearly that what he did was horrible, to say the absolute least. He would later be exposed, and I'm not joking, for sexting not a 15-year-old, not a 14-year-old, not a 13-year-old, but a 12-year-old girl. The dude is just an absolute menace, to the point where he even put his weird ass fantasies within his own fan game, which also sucked ass. Like, bro, if you're gonna with a girl, I don't like saying that. I didn't like saying that. You could at least make a good fan game. Blackout, or if I go by his real name, Justin Nicholas Cannonberg, because that's out now, would obviously go on to be a giant nutcase, but that really isn't how he started out. You know, obviously he didn't really start out as a good guy, because there were a lot of reports of him just being a womanizer, cheating on his girlfriend, being a kind of just a nuisance to women in general, which obviously isn't going to get you liked by a lot of people. But again, you're not like some unforgivable monster, you're just kind of an asshole. But after his fan game release, that fan game being Dormitibus, as I said before, it was in my worst Fnaf fan games video because that game sucked ass. You know, you can go watch that video if you want me to talk about that game. But the more popular he got, the more claims were made about him, and these got really dark. The beginning of it being, oh, he had cheated on his girlfriend, then it was him abusing the people around him because he had an abusive childhood, to the ending result being that he had confessed to being a necrophiliac. He actually doubled down on this degenerate behavior when it came to abusing the people around him, because everybody who was in his circle or had any kind of interaction with him had the same complaint, that he was abusive, that he was narcissistic, that he was just an overall asshole, to the point where he would literally send harassment campaigns after people who did so much as disagree with him. Now, to touch on his whole little necrophiliac quirk, this whole Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing he has going on, he actually tied that into his Dormitibus fan game. If you're familiar with me, you've most likely seen my worst FNAF fan games video, and I touch on Dormitibus within that video, and I say that Garvey, which is the William Afton of the Dormitibus fanverse, is a pedophile, and he is not a stranger to talking about it. But within that video, I didn't actually show a clip of him talking about it, but here it is for reference.
My God, this is most certainly beginning to be fun. There's this hot 15-year-old that was part of the kids' friends group. You know, it was fun. She screamed, but nobody heard her. It was so much fun. She's in one of the suits now. Just a little more time until Fredbear's is going down as well. But hey, I'll find my ways to catch her at the others.
Blackout, or Justin, did actually write this game, and judging by the person's voice that is over the speaker and knowing Justin's age, I think he also voiced it as well. Which, can I just say, even in movies like Prisoners, I don't understand, no matter how much of a professional actor you are, not saying that Justin is a professional actor, he sounds like shit, but like, even, no matter what your rank is or like what movies you've been in, why would you ever want to take the role as a pedophile? Like, I don't really understand that. So writing the game and then voicing the only person in the game who is that kind of person, that's a giant red flag. And as we'll get into later, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't become very surprising that that's the kind of person he wanted to portray. What I'm talking about is that on November 20th of 2020, a video called the Blackout / Niche situation, which was posted by, I believe, another producer of FNAF fan games, was posted to YouTube, where it went over screenshots that Blackout had with a 12-year-old girl, where he was listed as saying that, oh, well, you know, the age of consent laws in Germany are very relaxed, so I think I'm good, but my DMs are going to be very taboo, and you're my special friend, and a bunch of other gross shit. Which, again, we've had people like Swimpus McGrimpus who was texting a 16-year-old when he was in his, like, mid-20s, which is really bad, and you need to get your shit together, but bro, 12 years old. Bro, that is straight out of diaper shit. That's middle school. It's literally a middle schooler. To put that into perspective, when I was 12 years old, like, I was going to school and seeing people with, like, Ninja Turtle and My Little Pony backpacks. Like, oh my god. And again, just to, you know, now that you have that image in your brain, so you get the picture of how young this girl actually was, he was shown sending a picture of himself to her with his, mooning her, basically. He kind of just walked off the face of the earth after this. Like, nobody's really seen or heard from him. Not a lot of people have really talked about him since then. His game troll page now has some like pissy, stupid, retarded response to everything that had happened, where he's just like, you guys didn't just leave me alone, you know, whatever. But that's really all there is on him. So, you know, let's go into the next person.
Hickory dickory dock, some horny chick was sucking my cock. Oh!
Monopony kind of makes me sad, I'm not gonna lie, because, you know, everybody back in my day was just bumping to these songs when I was a little kid. But alas, for some reason, Fnaf, you know, content creators just can't keep their paws off these kids. So to put it bluntly, Anthony Kiedis? Wait, no, that's the guy from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Hold on. Anthony Stein, my bad. So he's a I'm just gonna put it out there bluntly. His first victim is actually pretty well documented, being K Seraph. At this time, when Anthony was having this interaction with K, they were 17 and he was in his mid-20s. I also want to point out, before we get into the details and the meat and cheese of this whole case, Mando was already very much married and had been for many years at this point. I don't know if it's public information or not, but I don't actually know where they had met, but it also isn't very rare for a predator who is an influencer to just reach out to their fans randomly, so maybe that's how it happened. Regardless, they would somehow start DMing each other on Instagram, and he would be the one to say, hey, do you have Snapchat? Let's go to my private Snapchat, to where he would ask for nudes and ask her if she's alone. Just very gross things. There are so many screenshots. It's like just a pool of them. This dude could not shut up for a second. He said stuff like this, which I'm going to put it on screen for you to read it for a second. I'm not going to read it out loud because it genuinely makes me uncomfortable. And not even just because she's a minor. You know, I've read DMs like this before, but it's just, he's so cringe. He kind of reminds me of like a boomer version of that meme where it's like, there's a gamer girl in my lobby. But what isn't funny though, and I will read, is the fact that this is a grown man who got exposed by a teenage girl and then went on an entire rage, you know, poll in Discord and then leaked her address to people, which again, as a grown man who got exposed by a teenager, you are such a fucking I almost said a bad word. And it just pisses me off so much because not only are you a grown man who is trying to do this to a teenage girl, you're a degenerate, but you're also a pussy about it, which is just insane. There are also some claims saying that he was sexting a 15-year-old, and although there is evidence about it, there's not really enough for me to confidently say that it was him. There's not really a lot of proof. So I'm not really comfortable with, full on saying and putting in this video that it was him. But just to say it, within these claims, it says that he was sexting a 15-year-old and that he had sent her nudes and confessed that he was flirting with her because he just found her so attractive. He also said that he knew that it was wrong, especially since he was married, which there's way more to it than that, my friend. And then there was also claims that he had sent a nude to her of his buttocks. Which, hey, maybe you and old Justin can be friends there, because for some reason you like to take photos of your ass. There are other claims within her whole testimony here, which, again, although I'm like 95% sure it is him, there are some things where I'm like, okay, I feel like you're adding gasoline to the flame just a little bit, where they say that he was saying that, oh, you're so mature for your age, which isn't like a crazy thing for a pedo to say, but it's so on par with their brand to say that. Like, they say it so much that it seems like the story they give is not unrealistic, and I do think he did do it, but it just seems like just a little bit suspiciously cliche, just in my personal opinion. Again, I'm not defending him in any sense of the word, and I do, if somebody had a gun to my head and said, do you believe he did this or not, I definitely say that I do think he did do it. But it's just stuff like that where I just think if it is going to be fake, you could have made it a little more original. Regardless, he was definitely kicked out of Nate Wants to Battle's record label, which is definitely a good thing. And he would actually give a response to this, which I'm going to read right now. When claims that I had a criminal relationship with some of my friends that were made last year, they were thoroughly investigated by the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in coordination with the LAPD. They did so for many months and independently concluded that no crimes had ever taken place, no molestation, no pedophilia, and no sexual relation with any minor whatsoever. Even though some are cynically using these false allegations to promote themselves, themselves, spread lies, and garner attention for commercial gain. That doesn't make them any more true than they were in the past. Again, no credible evidence was found that the person bringing these allegations against me had been abused or maltreated in any way. I do now understand, however, that some of my fan reactions may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments made others feel in ways that I never intended. I'm ashamed and extremely regretful to have put my family and those I love in a position to question my integrity. I do not deny I failed my wife, my family, my friends, and my supporters, but I am not a criminal. No one wants to discourage abuse victims from speaking out, but one must bear in mind that sometimes there are people who are falsely accused, and that is also a terribly destructive thing. I look forward to moving on and making things right with the love of my life, and for all the pain I caused her, having lived through this baseless accusations. Given the toxic atmosphere online, I'll be continuing my hiatus from social media for the foreseeable future. Any harassment, stalking, or abuse directed towards me or my family will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. To those who have continued to support me and my music throughout this difficult time, I am extremely grateful. Please continue to act with dignity, tact, and nuance. Andy. So, take that what you will. The first claim when it came to K definitely had some proof that it did come from his, actual profile. So there's not really much to defend him on when it comes to that. When it comes to the second claim, although there is more evidence to back that it is him than not, and also, it is proven that he was leaking her address, which is, basically unforgivable within itself, leaking a minor's address like that. You are an asshole at the end of the day. Regardless of if the second claim was you or not, you are a creep, you are an asshole. You leaked her address, you are a terrible person. But really, that's about it. And yeah, that's going to be the end of today's video. Doesn't it feel good to be back in the swing of things when it comes to longer form content? I am going to be posting once a week. I know it's been a while. And I'm hoping this video will get my channel back in the swing of things when it comes to the algorithm. YouTube really did not like when I started making short form content. But yeah, it's been a while since I've made a longer form content video, and you're going to see more of those, and like exclusively. So yeah, really just thank you guys a lot for the support. It means the world. And I'll get to working on that next video. So I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.